So the early bird famously catches the worm, and since there are so many worms to catch, I thought I have been sort of like habituated now into getting up at roughly 4 o'clock in the morning or half three in the morning, due to like having lived on like milking schedule. But I had a rather interesting or rather troubling conversation actually with someone who I was friends with at school. So I'm friends with on Facebook, this girl called Holly from Dauncey School, and she was gaslighting me on Facebook last night, dodging my questions, sort of like repeatedly trying to assert like, "Oh, you need professional help." I was like, "Yeah, I do need professional help. I need lawyers. I need a team of lawyers." And by professional help, she obviously meant like psychiatrists and psychologists, or whatever. And yeah, that was kind of troubling. Being gaslighted, it's never very fun being gaslighted. I've been gaslighted innumerable times in my life, mostly by mental health services. Um, However, if you know enough about what I'm saying, or if you know enough about the accusations I've been making and the rationality behind those accusations, there is a distinct logic to it. I'm sorry to have to point this out, but there is. Um, in terms of crime as means, motive, opportunity, all in place. The motive is rather distinct, profound. You know, if the land is worth half a billion, with houses on it, say we get 10%, 50 million, less capital gains. What's that, like 29 million? Like, do people kill people with that sort of money? Like, ooh, they're gonna kill people over money. Like, I suspect they probably would kill people over that sort of money. Yes, or defraud people for that sort of money. Like, well, like people, we know people clearly defraud people for far less money than that. You know, um, the famous like double glazing hucksters ripping off old women. That certainly happens, of course. You know. So I'd have said, like, if you fail to appreciate the logic there, and if you're gonna like sort of repeatedly make these accusations of insanity and so on and gaslight, I said not only do you lack empathy and you don't empathize with someone, which in itself is troubling, you also lack a degree of intelligence to be able to understand, to you know, not see the logic of my case here that I'm making. You hence lack capacity. And I wouldn't want to gaslight anyone. You know, I wouldn't like to do that. But if I were to gaslight someone, it would only be in retaliation to gaslighting. So, you know, yeah, it's if you can't like see that there is a logic there and that people do deeply unprincipled things for this sort of money, and criminal activity occurs over this sort of money, like you lack intelligence, or you're very naive, which amounts to something like the same thing. I think or there's a lack of common sense. You know, if you've made it into sort of your 20s, your late 20s, or really any period in your life beyond that's about 25, and you don't appreciate that criminality occurs over things like this, you're either very naive, lacking capacity in a certain respects, um, or you're seeking to cover for someone, and you of course realize the logic, but yeah, you're unempathic and you're acting maliciously, very possibly also. So yeah, I think those are the only options there. And then she knows likes of JP and very well actually, and Barney and Jethro from school, and you know, it could very well be that she's trying to preempt an attack on them. I suspect they're involved in it to some extent. There's mental health connections with all of those on some level, I think. Jethro's mother, former head of the Avon Wiltshire Mental Health Partnership. JP O'Connor Marsh's mother, Eileen O'Connor Marsh, has some connections like supported accommodation places for people with severe mental health problems. So that's somewhat interesting. I don't know like exactly where those leads would lead, but I suspect they lead somewhere. I'm just thinking like with Miles Cooper Bradley at UEA connection because he lived in Cambridge. Jeffrey lived in Cambridge. Miles Cooper Bradley involved in Amdrams in Cambridge, amateur dramatics. Jeffrey also, I believe, was involved in something like that, something similar. Is it the ADC Theatre? Uh, but I think there's a likelihood that those could know one another. I think that's possible, more or less. Um, so yes, there is a logic here underpinning it all, which i.e. is like it's not contradicted by rational arguments or anything supported by it. And I did have something else I wanted to say. What was it? Perhaps it wasn't important. I'm not certain. I put this line in this latest article I wrote about this whole situation. Like lice scratching around for a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow of hate. I was quite pleased with that. In any case, I can't remember what else I was going to say. If it comes to me, I will probably make another video since there's no harm in doing that. Since I'm perfectly within my rights to do that. So there we go. Thank you. Bye, everyone.